Oh boy. All right, here's the man. Hey guys, it's Jenny at the League-Kempner House. It is a very exciting day today. Ricardo and crew are back on site and it's already not going too well. We had a problem getting our steel lintels in that we need for the basement, so we're reorganizing our work a little bit, but they don't waste any time, so they correct quickly. There's no lollygagging with these guys. They are awesome, and we're so excited because it represents another huge, serious push. You hear us talk about lack of funding, but we've got a little bit of cushion right now, so we've got some money to spend, and we want to get it spent. So as a nonprofit, you're not supposed to hoard money. When you get money from your donors, you're supposed to be spending it. So we are doing that today. They've got their truck unloaded. Maribel's about to go get sand. I'm going to go inside and show you what they're doing. Fortunately, I think the electrician was supposed to be here today, but they rescheduled for tomorrow. But that's a good thing, I think, because there's a lot going on with getting these guys situated. My list is long for them to work on. So let me take you inside and show you what's going on. All right, we haven't come in this door for a while. We are now in hard hat safety zone because they're going to be working with removing these arches and there's risk of things falling. So these arches are pretty cool, but they're way too low for an entrance to the apartment. They're also heavily cracked and damaged. They need to come out and be rebuilt. They have a lot of holes drilled in them. They're just not stable. So we're going to take it out and instead go back with 3 pieces of angle iron lintels. So the first step is to get everything propped up because once this comes down, there's no support for these walls. So there's a lot of bracing to do. You've seen this before over and over and over again down here in the basement. So there's a lot of preparation. Then there'll be a lot of demo and we'll make a lot of trash once again. But all this can go to the concrete dump for free. So I will be back on concrete dumping duty. That's one of the jobs we can do ourselves and it's free. This is pretty exciting, actually. The other thing they'll be doing, I'm going to take you around. This is going to be the kitchen in the other apartment. There's Ricardo. There's the man. Say hello. Your fans have missed you. The man, a few words, but a lot of smiles. So they've got this one already braced. They know where everything is. They just ran right under the front porch and got all the timbers and everything they needed. You can see it's got complete failure of the arch. Also, it needs to come down. We're missing a joist over there against the wall. We've got to replace the floor up there, so a lot of that will get repaired. Then they're also going to help with taking down the kitchen floor. We were looking at that as volunteer activity, but I think it's too much of a safety issue. And since we have a little extra money, we're going to use it wisely and get that done. Let me go show you a couple other things real quick. So we're now over in our little bathroom in the gift shop, and behind that little blue panel over there is the chase that runs all the way up to the attic space that you've seen us working in with the wastewater pipes and the water pipes and everything. It's also where we believe the ginormous water line will go for the fire suppression equipment. It will come in from outside. It will go through the mechanical room, come across over here, and go in there. But they're going to need room to work on that. So this wall doesn't actually do anything, and it's already got a giant opening in it. So we're going to open that as wide and as high as we possibly can to give them access in the future when they're putting in the fire suppression system, because that will be coming up soon. And let's go outside. Oh, there's Kelly. We're actually going to go into Kelly's apartment, the chauffeur's quarters. We're going to be doing some work in here. We have the ceiling damage. You remember we sandblasted all of this, cleaned it up, and we see some kind of minor, they're actually minor, more cosmetic issues, but we need to get all these intrusions fixed and taken care of so we can start painting in here, because tomorrow when the electricians do come, they're going to replace all our outside service and get the work finished in the chauffeur's quarters so we can call for inspection and get our electrical cleared so we can start closing up walls down here. So that's pretty exciting. I forgot something. I had to come back in. So also a couple little things. So this is where the kitchen wall will be in the apartment, and it needs a vent for the stove. So we need to have a hole in the wall there, and then we need a hole in the wall way back over there in that corner to be up to code to have a vent in the bathroom. So we need Ricardo to put those 2 holes in for us. I can't tell you how nice it is to have these guys back. I have missed them so much. It's been almost 2 years since they were here, and they are a huge part of why I could save this house. We've worked together for years. It's such a comfortable working relationship. It's a great day. The other thing Ricardo's going to work on is way, if I can get it in focus, way up there. This is one of the very first windows we did where we replaced the wood lintel that was there with the angled steel, and we don't know why we did it this way, but it needs to come down one more row of bricks. There's 3 steel lintels there. The one on the outside needs to drop down to the top of that window trim, and I'm sure we had an idea at the time. Ricardo and I both seem to recall that we were going to add a wood bracing below that with steel mesh for the stucco, because you can't put stucco on the steel lintel. But in hindsight, we've decided to just stucco the face, let the steel lintel show, and faux paint it to match the house. Because if you look, almost none of it will show once the face is stuccoed. So the steel has some properties that are better than the wood lintel, but the wood lintel we could stucco over. So anyway, so I think what we did is we mirrored what they did with the wood, and that just won't work with the steel. So we have 3 windows we need to correct, but that's an easy fix, but they don't have the right scaffolding to do that today. So we just got all cleaned up and picked up and our yard done, and we're ready to order sod and some trees, and now we're going to make a big mess. So Ricardo's laid down a tarp so they can actually put the debris on that to make it easier to clean up. Our goal is to stay caught up on the cleanup and not build huge big trash piles again. So they'll just leave that there until we're finished probably with most of the demolition, and we'll start hauling it to the concrete dump. We've got our little outside window shutters open so they can have some natural light to work on. But I'm going to take you back in and show you what they're doing inside. As I mentioned on the walkthrough, down here on this part of the ground floor, the basement as we call it, there's going to be an apartment, and these entries go into the kitchen, and they had an arch over them, which we've talked about many times. It's a really strong way to build a structure, but the arches are too low. This basement used to be taller, but when the island was filled in and the great grade raising after the 1900 storm, somewhere between 12 and 18 inches of sand was brought in to fill this basement. So we're just under 7-foot ceiling heights, and so these doors are much lower than that, and we need a full height door to make it safe down here for someone to live. The arches are heavily damaged. They're not structurally sound anymore, so they needed to be repaired. So we're electing on a couple of them to remove the arch and put in some steel lintels. Now there's some additional arches that will show, and we will repair those and leave the arch so that the original construction type is visible down here. We don't want to change anything unless we absolutely have to, since we're doing a historical restoration. But the first step is just to remove all the stucco, expose the brick, and then get down all this damaged brick. And as I said, this is a hard hat area now. A lot of heavy things are falling. And another thing we're working on down here is just the whole ceiling above, which is really the under floor of the kitchen tile. It's concrete and it's unstable. It's very heavy. So there are a lot of risks down here. We've had caution tape up here. We don't let people go down in the basement unescorted and keep them out of the area. So safety first. And then as always, we salvage everything. So all of these bricks are original. We want to clean them up and reuse them. Even though they're not going to show, they'll be back under plaster. We want to keep as much original to the house as we possibly can. So nothing gets thrown away if it can be saved. Once they've done all that, they have to build back those side columns. So they're still doing a lot of work here, a lot of demo. You can see that first arch. This will be the door into the apartment. But there is a lot of rubble and junk created. So it's just a slow process. But look at how many bricks they've been able to salvage. It's just astounding that these bricks can be reused over and over and over again. They're actually not very quality bricks. They're something called a cedar bayou brick. They're part clay, part dirt, actually, and they're not kiln fired. They were semi-fired. There's previous videos about that you can go see. But the dirt pile will continue to grow and grow and grow as we get through this process. Ricardo was taking a little break. Turns out he broke his ankle just like I did, so he's giving it a rest. Ricardo and I are twinsies. He broke his ankle too, but he jumped off something, whereas I was just walking. Which one? Your left one? Oh, I did my right one. All right, I have been at lunch. It's time to come back and check on what these guys have done. So all of the demo, no, part of the demo is done. So they've got one out here. The second one out here. Maribel's making notes. Maribel, you've gotten so fancy. There, we've decided to leave some holes so that we can run plumbing and electrical if need be. And I noticed they have new tools. So this is a brand new jack stand. So we used to use 4x4s or 6x6s and hydraulic car jacks. And it's a lot of cutting of wood and fitting, and these are quicker and reusable because every time they cut something, it kind of wastes a piece of wood. So these are great. I'm going to show you how they do it. So they put it on. They've got a cheater bar. Tight quarters, because there's two of them. But it's hinged, so they can go down and around. It's basically a screw jack. Get a shorter bar. Oh, don't hit yourself in the head. There we go. And that's it. Simple technology. They lifted giant buildings after the 1900 hurricane when they raised the island with screw jacks. Not exactly like this, but same principle. Stop right here for just a second. It's been a long time since we've done anything kind of nerdy, so let's go off the rails a little bit on jacks. So where does the word jack even come from? Well, it actually comes from the nickname for the name John. And in the 16th century, jack was used as a colloquial word for a man of low status. It was basically a laborer, so a generic term for laborer. It shows up as early as 1679 in the Oxford Dictionary as going from laborer to a mechanical device, and that's defined there as a machine to lift heavy weights from below, referring to an engine used for removing and commodious placing of great timbers. And think about the timber construction, even back in the Middle Ages, they were moving timbers the size of trees, so they had a lot of physics involved in the lifting. We think of them as being primitive, but they weren't. They understood science and they understood physics. Jack was even incorporated in nursery rhyme back. This was from the 1500s. It's a cumulative tale about the house that Jack built, and I won't read you the whole thing, but the very last part of the verse says that married the man all tattered and torn, that kissed the maiden all forlorn, that milked the cow with a crumpled horn, that tossed the dog, that worried the cat, that killed the rat, that ate the malt, that lay in the house that Jack built. So Jack is referring both to the laborer and to the mechanical equipment used to build houses way back when. And we've talked before about some of the physics behind jacks. It's got levers and screws. We've talked about those in the past. Maybe we'll dive deeper in that at some point in the future. But there's just a lot of physics involved in being able to use very little force to move very heavy things. And this house weighs a lot. Think back to the raising of Galveston Island after the 1900 storm. They picked up huge, big buildings and raised them, and they used screw jacks and just manpower to do that. And this is all the brick that's salvaged. So they always try to salvage everything for me that they can. They'll use some of this to put back to build these columns up as high as they need to be. To put the lintel on, what's left over we'll take outside and use to pave in our greenhouse, so that what you see in the greenhouse is brick original to the house. So that'll be kind of fun. And that's interesting. So that is hollow. Ricardo. So that was hollow. So that was hollow. That's just Is that just decorative?
Yeah.
Supports over here.
Yeah.
Not over there. So I think it does support part of the floor in the kitchen, but nothing above it. So some of these supports carry up all the way through the top of the house. This is just only stopping at the floor of the kitchen, so it didn't need to be as strong, so they didn't waste material on it. So I get asked a lot about load-bearing walls, and it's one thing you see on TV shows a lot when they're doing home improvement. Always get a professional come check before you remove a wall to make sure it's not load-bearing. So this is a good example of that. So this vault up here, this curved brick, is carrying the load over to the wall here and to the wall over here. So this doesn't need any other support. To show you our safety rules, I am wearing a hard hat because this is now a hard hat zone. This is a good place to talk about load bearing. This arch we've talked about is structural. It bears the load across the floor above us, and it carries the load from side to side to these columns. Now when we took out the arch at the end, we revealed the ends of the floor joist, and they no longer have anything to rest on, so that load is free hanging. So that is why before taking down that arch, this support was put in the back to hold up those joists and keep this area safe. Anytime you open up a wall, you need to identify whether it's load bearing or not. It's very critical. We also have some issue with some loose bricks still above. That's why this is a hard hat area. Anytime we see something that may fall, they're going to take it down and try to make this a safer place. But there is risk of things falling. We definitely don't want that floor falling. Ricardo is over here on the other side. He's already taking off that plaster that you can see, and it'll be interesting to see when he gets this down what the ends of these floor joists look like. But you can see behind him we've got those shoring screw posts and a big I think that's a 6x6 set up back there holding those floor joists up to stabilize that. This is a hard hat area. This is not something we would do with volunteers. This is why we hire paid professionals for this kind of work. Plus, it's also just very physical, technical work, but the demo itself can be quite complicated. One reason they're starting in there is that this room is a mess, and that's going to take a while, but tomorrow the electrician will come and get all this cleared out, and we'll have more room to work in here and do the ceiling. All right, it is very close quarters down there, and it's hard to film. You'll get the general idea. So I'm going to come back upstairs and work on the shutters. I spent about an hour this morning touching up. I'm going to try to spend a couple more hours real quick and see what I can do. All right, it was lunchtime. It was all quiet, so I went back down to take a peek. All the demo's been done, a lot of the cleanup. It's always interesting to kind of see the state of things on the inside, how this column was built. It's got this hollow area we didn't know about. To think about that, that might actually be a stovepipe going up higher, but also with the arch down, as I mentioned before, you can see the ends of the joists where they were originally embedded into that brick arch, and unfortunately down at this end close to the wall they are completely rotted out, so that floor above needs more support. Well, bad word. Maribel! Problem. We're going to leave you hanging with our joist issue here. It was a great day. It was a busy day. Sometimes that's not always conducive to filming a lot. Joe was not down here. This was not one of our normal work days, but we're going to pick up again tomorrow, so that will show up in next week's video with a lot more activity. There is so much going on right now, so be sure and subscribe and turn on your notifications and join us back here next week at the League-Kempner House in Galveston. For those of you that want to see a little more contemporaneous content, you can become a YouTube member, and we produce a weekly Wednesday video and we do a Saturday live. So go check out memberships, but we hope to see everyone back here at our normal Sunday videos next week. Until then, have a great day.